guys, this is OCD Mirror Reviews. My name is Oliver Breaker and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do something completely different since you guys love that THX Scares Me as a Kid video. What the hell was that? Ah! God! Stop! I want to do more stories of things that I'm scared as a kid, and it's a great opportunity to talk about movies that I'm scared of as a kid. Now, these movies specifically don't mean the full movie that I was scared of as a kid. It's just specific scenes that really traumatized me as a kid. Yes, I was a scared kid back there. Whenever I see scary shit in movies, I just notice and I always remember those scenes till this day. But it doesn't mean I don't like these movies. Some of these movies I actually hate, but most of these movies I was scared of as a kid, I love them till this day. There are some of them that are actually my favorite movies of all time, so this is where it's going to get interesting. So let's get started talking about the movies I was scared of as a kid. So one of the movies I'm scared of as a kid, I'm going through order. I'm not going to go through like, you know, the first movie I was scared as a kid. I'm just going to go through different movies randomly in general. So the first movie I want to talk about I was scared of as a kid is a movie called Shrek. Everybody knows Shrek. Come on, Shrek is one of the best family films of all time. It's one of my favorite animated films of all time. But I was scared of one scene as a kid. I remember watching Shrek for the first time with the opening scene where these hunters are hunting down Shrek, and you see Shrek just roaring at the camera, basically roaring at the hunters. And I know that scene was supposed to be funny, but when I watched this as a kid, I was traumatized. I just hate when characters just go into the camera and just scare the shit out of you, looking like they're actually trying to scare you as a kid. And for some reason that scared me, and I never got to watch Shrek again until when I was older. I was traumatized by Shrek as a kid, but I gotta say, I also had this really terrifying dream of Shrek as a kid. I remember I was at Queensland, I was 4 years old. We were at a trip at Sunshine Coast in Queensland. I was with my parents and my grandparents. We were visiting our relatives. My sister was just born. She was like 4 months old. And I remember I was asleep and I had this dream of Shrek. Now, it's not that Shrek is love bullshit. That didn't exist yet. But this dream was actually kind of more weirder and actually more scarier to me. It's when I woke up and I see Shrek close to my face looking super duper pissed. I'm not even kidding. That actually happened. I just see Shrek just close to my face. Not looking like he's going to kiss me or anything because that would be weird. He's just close to my face. This close, looking so pissed like he's going to eat me alive. And that's where I woke up. I was crying as a kid. I told my mom and dad to come into that bedroom. It's a true story. But that doesn't change the fact that still today, I love Shrek. So, it's just that one specific thing of Shrek that I was scared of as a kid. Just that roaring scene. Just scares me. So, the next movie I want to talk about is The Mask, starring Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz. Wow. I got this prop with me. This was actually meant for the fish tank, but it looks so much like the mask in the movie. I'm going to put it right here. Just basically for the prop of this video. So the scene I was scared of the mask as a kid is the scene where basically the mask was first introduced. When Stanley Imkus puts on the mask, it just goes all over his face. He's transforming into the mask. And then you see him. And it's another figure I was scared of as a kid. Just to look at the mask. As a kid, in my perspective, he looks like a creepy asshole. And then when he walks in the hallway, he's basically fighting off this clock. Then Mrs. Peaman, Stanley Imkus' really rude neighbor, just came out. And of course she was scared of him. And you see the mask like eyeballs and mouth just coming out of his face. That scene alone, I'm just like, this is like my worst nightmare. But same thing, I love The Mask still. It's one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. It's so funny. It's so likable. I just want to see a remake of The Mask. But rated R, because the comics of The Mask is so much different than the actual movie itself. Now let's talk about another movie that scares me as a kid. And that movie goes to, it's probably the most weirdest one. The Cat in the Hat. Now what was I scared of The Cat in the Hat as a kid? Well, I went to my cousin's house and saw this film. I grew up with Dr. Seuss books. I love Green Eggs and Ham. That's one of my favorite books of all time as a kid. And then I read The Cat in the Hat after. So I know the book well as a kid. So when I watched the movie and just see Mike Myers with the cat costume.
Don't you dare touch me! Stand back! No! No!
I was traumatized. My cousins remember I was scared of the Cat in the Hat as a kid. So Olivia and Chloe and Angelo, talking to you guys. This is basically a video for you guys. Going back memory lane of what movies I used to be scared of every time I go to your house. Because the Cat in the Hat wasn't just that movie. Literally, just to look at the Cat in the Hat just traumatized me. It looks like some creepy white faced guy with the cat suit on, and it just looks nothing like the cat in the books. I used to be traumatized just by the look of the cat in the hat, and it's just a weird scare that I had as a kid. But I wouldn't blame myself because it still looks freaky to this day. Even the things, holy shit. Now let's go with some horror movies that I was scared of as a kid. Now this was a family horror film, and it's a film that I recently just done a mashup of. Monster House. Now let's just put it this way. It wasn't the actual house that scared me as a kid. It was actually the opening scene on Monster House that really traumatized me as a kid. It's weird because as a kid I used to like the Monster House look. I don't know why, I wasn't scared, I was like, that is freaking cool. But just that opening scene, I always tell people to just skip that part because that opening scene creeps me out as a kid. When this adorable little girl on this tricycle, honestly, I just want that girl for my daughter. I just want her as my daughter and just let her stay small. Of course it's impossible, but she's just so adorable. I just want to give her a hug through that tragic in the opening scene. She was riding her tricycle and of course she stopped at Navicracker's house. Her bike just got stuck in his lawn and then Navicracker came out and holy shit. Just that scene where you see a black screen, you see his eyes, already I was traumatized of that scene. Just that poor little girl suffered through that scene where Navicracker breaks her tricycle. Navicracker's a dick. As a kid, I was just like, Navicracker is just such a scary, old, cranky asshole. Like, it's kind of like Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino. If I was a kid and I see Gran Torino just holding a gun going, "Get off my lawn," I would probably faint if I was a kid. Even though Gran Torino didn't come out when I was a kid. It came out in 2008, the right time for me. I was 8 years old and that's when I started to love movies. But just that opening scene alone, I was just traumatized and I always told my parents to skip that scene. And for the rest of the movie, I did enjoy as a kid, so that is fine with me. Now, the next movie is another horror movie, but this time it's a real horror movie. This movie, I think it will traumatize every single kid who saw this film for the first time, including myself. That movie is Jaws. I love Jaws. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a movie that I grew up with, and it's a movie that I would say is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But just because I said that, it doesn't mean I was scared of this movie as a kid. That opening scene, of course, that scene will scare everyone as a kid, where Chrissy is basically going in the water with this guy. Of course, this guy, I forgot the guy's name. I don't even give a shit about that guy's name, but he was so drugged. He's like, "Oh, just go in, I'm too drunk." And the girl was just like swimming in the water, and then you don't see the shark, but you see her actually getting pulled down by the shark. And that scene alone just made me scared to go swimming. And that's what's great about Jaws. They make you so scared for going swimming. But I remember just hugging my mom when I watched that scene. Just that scene alone just made me scared to go in the pool and swim and stuff. Like I was scared there's like going to be a shark just crawling under me and just pulling me down. That scene was really traumatizing. But Jaws is still one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'll probably review that movie. I don't know if I had reviewed this movie on my channel. So maybe when Halloween comes out, I'll review Jaws. Now, next one is, of course, a Pixar classic. This is one of my favorite Pixar films. But just because I said that, doesn't mean I wasn't scared of that movie as a kid. Monsters, Inc. Another monster title, like Monster House. Now we got Monsters, Inc. Now, the thing that scared me in Monsters, Inc. as a kid was actually the opening scene. Where basically, I know it's like, basically an experiment, like a test run for the monsters that scare the kids. But just how that scene was executed, it really terrified me. I remember watching Monsters, Inc. at night with my cousins in a bedroom. Like, we turned the lights off and everything, and I remember that scene, I was like hiding behind the quilts. And I know that scene was supposed to be funny, you know, the monster just fails like his test. I get that, but just from the opening alone, before that moment, it was just terrifying. I love that way it's executed till today. But I remember I was scared of that scene as a kid. It's not because of that THX logo, because that's one of the reasons why I was scared of Monsters, Inc. It's just that opening scene alone. And also the scene where basically Sully is just had to growl this robot kid. You see Boo basically traumatized and scared of Sully. And I just, again, I hate where the monsters just come out of the camera and just roar through the camera, just like, that alone, I hate that as a kid. I was just a really scared kid back then. Now the next one, I wouldn't say it's a movie per se, I'll say it's more of a music video. But this music video really creeps me out, and I know it's a short film, so I'm going to count that as a film on this list. But I remember I was so traumatized of that music video as a kid, so I decided, let's talk about this video. Michael Jackson's Thriller. I remember the first time that I saw that video as a kid. And just that scene alone, the opening scene, which is a movie within a movie, where Michael Jackson and his girlfriend, they're basically stuck in this forest, their cars ran out of gas. Michael Jackson saying, "Oh, would you be my girl? Would you be my official girlfriend?" And then he tells her, you know, "I'm not like other guys." And when he turns into the werewolf in that video, where he just looks at a girl, goes, "Go away!" already I just ran behind the couch because I watched this music video on the big screen lounge room that I used to have in my old house. It was on SBS or something, so I went behind the couch and I was hiding. Just that scene alone where he turns into the werewolf very, very slowly and we hear that girl like screaming. Like, that scene, I was just like, oh. And even that scene where Michael Jackson just turns into a zombie and just that look. Yeah, I just wanted my dad to turn the TV off, or at least, like, change the channel, because I was, like, almost in tears. Even a movie from a movie franchise I was terrified of as a kid. Another movie that I watched at my cousin's house, oh my gosh. That's not the only one, there's another one that's coming up. One of them is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Remember that scene with the spiders? Yes, I think everyone would agree with me, that scene was just terrifying itself. And I'm not even scared of spiders. I'm not. When there are little spiders in my room, I didn't give a shit, even when I was a kid. But when I saw it in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, those spiders creep me out. They're just being assholes to Harry and Ron, just terrifying them and terrifying the audience as well. Spiders are just assholes in that movie. Another movie that I was at my cousin's house and watching that movie and I was scared of as a kid, they know this one very well. ScoobyDoo. Yes, the first ScoobyDoo movie, not the animated films, not the recently Scooby, because I'm growing up right now. But ScoobyDoo, the movie that's directed by probably one of the worst family directors ever, Roger Gosnell. It's the one with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard. That opening scene with the Luna ghost, that is the scene I was just like, holy crap. What is this? Because the cartoons I grew up with, because at least the ghosts in the cartoons were actually clumsy and funny. I used to laugh at that as a kid. I loved that What's New Scooby-Doo show as a kid, but just that scene alone, the Luna ghost just looks like a creepy horror movie character that could have been in a Radar horror movie. Even those creatures on Monster Island, I was just like, and I remember my cousins laughing at me that I was so scared of Scooby-Doo as a kid. I hate seeing monsters on screen as a kid. Now, I want to talk about one more movie that I was scared of as a kid, because I know there's a lot of movies, but there is one movie that I was actually really traumatized as a kid, like 100%. It's like, it beats the THX logo, absolutely. That movie is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I hate this movie till today. I've always hated that movie. Not because I was scared of it, it's just how it's executed till today. It's not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory I was scared as a kid. I haven't seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a kid. I watched it when I was a little bit older. But I remember my dad got this canned copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he said, oh, it's a kid's movie. So I watched it with my dad. There's two scenes that I just told my dad I never want to watch this movie again. One of them is when Augustus Gloop fell into the chocolate river and it goes up to the pipe, and I know it's supposed to be a fun scene with the Oompa Loompas like dancing and stuff, but as I see it as a kid, it looks so suspenseful, it looks tense, it looks like claustrophobic, and I was just like, what is this? But the scene I was mostly scared the most in that movie is the squirrel scene with Veruca Salt. Are you agreeing with me with that scene? Like, literally those squirrels attack Veruca Salt like it's a freaking horror movie. I was thinking in my head, Dad, is this really a kid's movie? Like when Veruca's getting attacked by the squirrels and she goes down to the garbage chute, I'm just like, oh God. And I'm like, that's Tim Burton till today. He always traumatized me as a kid with his movies. Like Edward Scissorhands, the way Edward looks scares me as a kid. Just Tim Burton always scares me as a kid. But Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is like the Tim Burton film that I was just like, I never want to see his films again. Until today, I still love Tim Burton's old films. So guys, that is it. These are some of the movies that I was actually traumatized as a kid. Let me know down below, what movies you used to be scared of as a kid? And do you agree with me with all these movies that I was scared of as a kid? Do you feel related to me? Hopefully some of them you do. So make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. I'm not scared of you anymore. I got over you.